It's adventurous. Oh, shit.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We have, yet again, I'm super excited. We have JJ and Ted.
Yes.
JJ and Ted, thank you guys for being on. They're from
Inspiring to argue.
I do have some more skeptical considerations that we need to about.
Yeah. You mean we're not going to believe the magical that you can hear but not see? You mean there's actually skepticism?
There's a lot of things other people can't see that I can, but they can hear them.
All right. Okay. All right.
That being said, all right, historically speaking, the leaders of Tahitian tribes would order all the villagers to participate in building the structures in a day and not the Menehune people.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I guess that makes sense.
And why were the tribes not included in any written works, which, by the way, they only showed up in 1861? So maybe they were just simply mythological. Hawaii natives were smart and kept their supernatural beliefs to themselves since early Christian missionaries arrived, and we already know how that goes.
Yeah.
So that probably saved a lot of lives, keep it hush-hush.
Yeah, right.
And we got to factor in a lot of stories were passed down verbally, so maybe they were lost over the years and then picked back up. Who knows?
It got conflated over time.
Now, JJ, this one's for you. Are you ready?
Go for it.
In 2003, scientists made a major discovery on an Indonesian island called Flores.
Okay.
You guys, do you know what that? No, I'm talking about. Are we going here?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Homo floresiensis or whatever.
Yeah.
Floresiensis. These are real flesh and blood bones that these people. Well, okay, bones, not flesh. These are real people that existed. We found their skeleton. They were about 3.5 feet tall, about a meter.
Okay.
They were hominid.
Mhm.
The first one that they found was a 30-year-old woman.
How do they know she was 30?
You can date that with
remains. You do. Heck,
That's like a common thing, man.
If we killed you, threw you in a dish, and then dug you up in 40 years, we could tell you how old you were.
Okay, you would know that because we have science that says if the femur grows.
When did you say they were found?
2003.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're talking about.
He's saying they might have aged differently.
Yeah, maybe they age differently. So they're saying, how do you know it's 38? I know that.
They're looking at it through the lens of this is science and this is a human who is at a slightly different proportion than the typical.
Even mummies are the same way.
Yeah. I don't understand your hang up.
Bones are bones. I think he's saying, judging by diet, where they're located, they might grow different than we do, so their ages might be off. It probably wouldn't be that far off.
It's also oddly specific because usually when you get like a set of bones, like we think they're between 25 and 35.
That might have been what was said.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm just saying it. I'm just going to cause some. I'm still skepticism.
When you were saying, talking about all this shit with people and what could they be? I'm like, we literally have people this size, a whole group, a society of people that were all this size.
Yeah.
Proven.
But they don't have
scientifically.
They don't have magic.
We don't know that. How would you know?
Okay. But
you're saying it's not
but if you find the entirety of the myth is that you can't see them unless you're of Polynesian descent. So how can anybody see the remains? And how does that work with the cryptid? Does it work that once they die, then you can see the bodies, or do they still want to be invisible?
Different people.
No, but
different people.
Yeah.
2, who's to say whatever cloaking thing they have, they can't actively cloak if they're dead?
Right. It might be an active thing.
Yeah. What if it's like Predator?
But we're trying to conflate one to the other, and I'm saying they're two very different.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think it's just saying like the size thing isn't the reason not to believe.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just people being small. There's people out there that are small. And then again, there was no evidence that these people were magic, right? It's just they built shit in a night, and then they were done. Other people could do that. Maybe they just thought it was magic because they were doing it so fast.
And they were.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What if there was aliens helping them out with technology?
Well, that's a possibility. Why wouldn't there be?
You're welcome.
It's good answer. Why wouldn't there be?
Why wouldn't there be? Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I thought was funny, the tribe that we're talking about here inspired the tiki demons that were the characters in Aloha Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
Oh my.
Yes. That's exactly how I was picturing that in my.
Yep.
That's so
Oh,
perfect.
God, I need to look up what those are. Low.
They also are said to be sighted in Hawaii's Littlefoot episode on Finding Bigfoot.
Oh, cool.
Really?
You know what
Yeah.
So JJ, I think like several times you've seen the movie Moana. Remember
Yeah.
when they
The little ones, the coconuts.
the
And they're
coconuts on the
Yeah,
tip?
yeah.
Yeah, I also
That's what I was
similar.
imagining, but they didn't have, but without the coconut.
Yes.
With
Some of them
coconuts.
probably had coconuts,
Yeah.
but
Oh man, these things are wild.
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Man.
It sounds it also, and I think this is probably less like idea spreading than just one of the many examples of two similar things coming into existence without
Mhm.
knowledge of each other. But like a lot of this is very like fae folk similar.
In
Yes.
the picture, that person is that aloha thing is on a surfboard shooting fireballs from his mouth.
Good chime in.
I
Jinkies.
just
My glasses.
Well, yeah, I doesn't have my glasses on, actually. They're in the house.
so you are like my glass.
Yeah, Tracy, where are my glasses?
So
See without my glasses.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Crap or cryptid?
Crap. I'm gonna say crap.
I'm gonna say cryptid.
gonna say cryptid.
But I'm gonna say cryptid, but with a very like hyperbolic explanation based on limited understanding. I think similarly to the remains that were found, they were a tribe of small humanoid
Mhm.
things that maybe their abilities were, like I said, hyperbolically inflated over time.
Yes.
But
But still existed, but not to the
Yeah.
thing that we
Yes.
like
but not local legend.
like whenever we do a cryptid thing, and I'm always like, there are always new creatures discovered all the time,
Mhm.
and I always try to make it like, okay, what's the closest like animal that we know about, and how different is this?
Yeah.
Not that different, really. And that's the thing with cryptids. Like, I absolutely
I do the same thing. I
Yeah.
think it's these people existed as far as being a humanoid something about this size. But again, I think it was embellished over the years to explain some stuff that they couldn't at the time understand.
Mhm.
Yeah. Think about all this other stuff. Hell, you got sick and you were possessed. You had
Right.
seizures and you were possessed. Germs didn't
Mhm.
exist. The demon, the Satan got you sick.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
it's something like that.
That's human history is and extremely fascinating. Like all of any myth, there's always that like explaining something that at the time wasn't explainable. And it still
Mhm.
happens. Yeah.
I think it's conflated in, and we talked about it, that a lot of cryptids exist in order to explain the unexplainable
Yeah.
or to keep children or
Right,
or
as a
people-
cautionary tale or
As a
something, yeah.
cautionary tale. Hey, do what you're supposed to do, and then you'll get what you want, right? Or stay
Or-
away from the
yeah,
water
yeah,
at night.
get
Yeah.
safe, yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
think
don't want
that's-
La Llorona to get you.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's much more likely. I'm not saying that folks who are little people, I
Yeah.
think, is the correct
I don't know. Sorry if you get
Yeah.
offended.
folks with dwarfism
Yep.
do exist, but
How
historically,
brave of you.
thank you. But historically, those folks are not of or above average strength. Historically, they're not.
Right. There's that's more. You're saying that those things are clearly embellishment.
I would even argue made up rather
Right.
than just embellishment,
Right.
but made up.
But I think made up being a great operative term for, again, maybe they completed physical labor very quickly
Sure.
compared to people around them, and then that was
That made them
which is,
seem stronger.
yeah, maybe that was a truth that as it was told, maybe the time shortened a little bit with each telling.
But every time you say that, like they say they're magic, but maybe that's because they're working quickly. Maybe they worked quickly, so we thought there's just getting to be too many
Oh yeah,
word inflating to the point that it doesn't even match.
Yeah.
Any source that I would argue
right.
is reasonable.
Yeah. No, I get it, and I think that's like I think a lot of cryptids, if they exist and we discovered it and studied it, it would be like, oh, I see where this came from. There's like real examples of that where I can't think of any off the top of my head, but we There's stories that we hear, and then the real thing, it's, oh, I see how we got here.
Sure.
I see how this detail got blown out of proportion, because it is weird that this thing has a duck bill and a beaver tail and whatever, and then it's a platypus. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Although, let's think about this though. Back in the day,
Mhm.
when calculators were invented, if you did not know what a calculator was and you had somebody that could just pull numbers out of their ass, would that not be magical?
Right. That's
Or the
agreed.
people that figured out physics that
Yeah,
other people
well,
didn't understand.
And I think, just not to sound, this is going to make me sound insane. I'm actually comfortable with that. Never mind.
That's right.
But that's the thing with, because I have, I don't know if, I don't know how often I've mentioned this. It's all the time. But I have a degree in the study of religion. And like, in my general take on things is, yeah, I'm a science dude, like, absolutely. But also, like, it's really not that different, because there's a reason that scientists don't go out of their way to be like, this is an axiomatic, like, absolute proof truth of something. It's the closest approximation to fact that we have based on the tools that we have at our disposal right now. And that's what religion and myth has always been. It's different. I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but
It's
science is
also-
great.
Even science can't officially prove anything that happened religiously as far as like in the past, because you're never going to be able to calculate those exact circumstances. And
Right.
an example of this is I watched a documentary on one where they were even going into where they parted the sea.
Mhm.
And given the right circumstances, the wind and the level of the water, you can actually separate water with wind.
Right. And
And then you have the flood. That's a whole other thing.
yeah, and stuff like that. It's like, I don't necessarily think that the way that myths present potentially historical things is 100% factually accurate. But my whole thing is, I also don't think that the explanations for things that are given in a scientific consensus are absolutely or should be taken to be like the absolute truth, because like things slightly change with scientific presentations all the time. Oh, we understand a little bit more about this deep space thing now. And it does throw a little bit of the previous understanding into question. And that's fine. That's the scientific process. And we should absolutely be like supporting that and doing that. But it's not leading to absolute truth. That's not the goal of it. And it shouldn't be. But anyway.
So
Yeah.
I have speaking of this random stuff. So JJ might get a kick out of this one. How do you guys feel about time travel?
I think it exists in a theory, but I don't think we'll ever get to a point where we can actually manage that.
Because you always hear about time traveling, and if they just go, and then you like pop up 100 years ago or whatever in the exact same spot or wherever. But do you guys ever find it interesting that they never put into consideration that the Earth is constantly moving either far away or closer? So it's never actually in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's interesting too. If we think about the Earth moving in your old solar system, going around the sun, but in fact, what it's doing is it's traveling through space in a corkscrew type of fashion.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the conceit is just that it's because oftentimes time travel is obviously actually a scientific thing that's studied and whatever, but for the most part, our exposure to it is like science fiction. And I think that the conceit is just, oh, that's planned for variable. That's part of time travel, is that don't worry. People who are capable of doing time travel accounted for like the most.
Yeah. What if you like, but then you pop up and you're like,
The Earth is behind you and you're just waving at it.
I'm thinking Roadrunner, and all of a sudden you pop up and you're like, and then you fall.
There's a single, like just a tiny throwaway joke in an episode of Futurama that has to do with time travel, and they show up 5 feet above and then drop.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
I just figured I'd ask about that because it's always something interesting.
It's all math.
Yeah.
It's all math.
it's all about, no,
I'm
no,
not all
I
the
agree.
time.
I
All
think,
math all the
yeah,
time.
no, I think that there's just with anything like that, like time travel is a great example, but yeah, that's an absolutely valid variable that there's so much to think about with like time travel. That could be its own, that's a great tragic ending to a good sci-fi work, is like somebody figures out time travel and then they end up in the vacuum of space.
Oh,
they
that'd be a
didn't account for that.
bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
What
yeah.
happens to you if you like, so say you're up in space and you're tethered for the whatever that thing's called up there, it breaks. You just like float on for all eternity till you starve
Oh
to death.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think that's basically it.
At that
Which-
point, would you guys starve to death or would you poke a hole in your helmet?
God, I don't know.
I'd poke a hole probably.
Once I'm
I
ready,
think starving to death is one of the worst ways. That's not great.
I think if you poke a hole, I think is an instant because of
No, even if you
Pressure.
were just, I was gonna say, but even if you were just like out with, that's what's interesting. Like even just being out in space, you have a little bit of time, which is crazy.
that freeze to death, don't you?
I think that's probably the first thing that would
I don't
kill you.
I don't think you'd starve.
No.
I think you'd freeze to death.
No, if you were in your suit. Oh,
Okay, well, let's just say your suit was able to keep you at a constant temperature,
then starving.
and and starving wasn't.
But yeah, you might be right. Yeah.
Or
I
poke
think
a
if
hole
you-
and hope that a raccoon in a spaceship comes and saves you.
I'm gonna. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Is that not an option?
Yeah.
Done. Marvel movies just full circle.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm well-rounded.
Thank you. I was gonna say the Magic School Bus where Arnold's cousin Arnold, I think, is on Pluto and lifts his helmet and his head just turns to ice.
Yeah.
And he just needs some chicken soup.
See,
I think that's what happens.
Yeah.
Actually.
Now we're talking about like cryogenically freezing and ceasing functions until you can be warmed up rapidly
Yeah.
enough to just resume. Yeah, that's
I
good
think
stuff
probably
too.
what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that is
What
good
are we
stuff. Because I'm just
doing?
like, I don't know. Where are we? What happened? Oh, wait. We're on Cryptid's Crazy Conspiracy Podcast. Shit. Speaking of, I do have a question that I like to ask everybody just out of
Yeah.
curiosity. What is your guys' favorite cryptid?
You go first.
What is my favorite cryptid? Bigfoot. I think it's Bigfoot because as a non-believer, right? I'm a non-believer in conspiracy in most things, right? So I think Bigfoot is fun because it's so low stakes, and even the folks who are like hunting Bigfoot, like even know that, like B4O, for example, the Bigfoot Field Research Institution or organization, I think.
Yeah.
They literally they go out camping with the hopes of finding Bigfoot. They're just going out there just fucking around the forest.
with similar minded friends. Yeah, and it's
absolutely.
no, I like that.
I like Bigfoot. I think people are passionate about it, but it's not like conspiracies, and maybe this is in general cryptids, knowing that and Natasha, you probably have experienced this yourself, is conspiracies have a different feel to them now than they did 5 years ago, right? It's not as fun to be a conspiracy theorist anymore
There's a lot of
that's because
disclaimers required. Yeah.
So much shit actually happens that it's
yeah.
more scary than anything.
True.
They get dangerous.
Well,
they can be dangerous.
And it's been like co-opted by people who want to use that mindset for more nefarious purposes than just having fun with the world as it is.
Yeah.
you know?
And that's but Bigfoot I think still keeps that. Maybe even cryptids.
You're right. Yeah.
Keep that. Just listen. If it is there, it's awesome. If it's not,
we're still having fun with friends out in the
still having-
forest and
absolutely.
shared interest. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
That's a good
Bigfoot's my
answer.
favorite cryptid.
I'm torn, but yeah, I'm torn between Jersey Devil because that's wild, and Chupacabra, kind of for the same reason.
Oh.
I just think Chupacabra's
Hold
awesome.
on. Flag on the play. Where's my flag? Flag on the play.
Yeah,
Which Chupacabra?
You just have that offhand. You just have that with you.
You
The
should make-
tissues.
Oh, I was gonna say you should. Well, I feel like you have to, like, I don't know. I'm sure there's some like company that can do. You can get a T-shirt and cut it up, but you should have a Chupacabra flag just in case
Oh.
somebody mentions it.
Oh,
like,
no, my flag goes out for all kinds of stuff. I think it's bullshit
sure,
the
sure,
flag
sure,
comes
sure.
out. But
gotcha.
which Chupacabra? The alien lizard-like one or the bullshit mangy dog one?
Bullshit mangy dog one.
Oh.
Oh wow, that's judgy.
No. That's the. I like the.
How dare you?
No, I like the mangy dog one because I feel like the reason that one's one of my favorites, like I said, tied. That one's. I was just about to say this, but I think that's the one that I've seen when people talk about it the most genuine belief. I think
Well,
that,
you see mangy dogs all the time.
right, yeah, but I think that's probably part of it. But when people talk about Bigfoot, I think people genuinely believe in Bigfoot, but they're also like Gigi said, they're like having fun. But people are like. People in small towns, villages in northern Mexico are like, no, this thing like fucked up my
That's
life.
not
Like,
dog Chupacabra.
okay, I guess let me ask because just to get on the same page. What exactly is the distinction? Because I think a lot of people conflate that together. What do you mean exactly?
Okay. So particularly in Brazil, Mexico, like the origin of that Chupacabra is more alien lizard-like, the goat sucking, like blood sucking husk of a goat in your yard kind of thing.
Yeah,
I've heard that Chupacabra could be like genetically modified too.
Yes.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Now,
I think it was maybe more answering appearance. But
a
go on.
lot of the mangy dogs, so it's one's more lizard / alien. Think of, I guess if the lizard people had a pet
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
very
Okay.
ferocious.
I
Yeah.
do love lizards.
Mangy dog is more mangy dog. It's more
Yeah.
canine. It's got the snout. It's dark. The other ones are more like greeny.
Yeah. With the
yeah.
spines and
Yes.
the spine spikes. Well, yeah, actually, when I must have been either young middle school or old elementary school. I had a very hyper accurate lizard chupacabra Halloween costume. It was great. I don't have a picture of it, but my mother probably like feeling weird about it made it for me. Excellent. But no, I guess the reason I answered what I did is because I think that the mangy dog appearance one is.
Oh, you can't.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to get my
Yeah,
adjustment.
yep, I see, and that's
Both
what.
kinds are
Yeah.
on there.
Yes, yeah,
Mangy dog and then legit chup.
yeah. I think that the reason I like the mangy dog one, I combine them together in a sense, but I think that the appearance of the mangy dog one is potentially more possibly accepted as a believable thing by non-believers, and that's me trying to convince the world. I would answer that way. Personally, I like the lizard one, but I think that with the genuine belief, I'm like, maybe there is something. Maybe there is, and maybe it does look like a mangy dog because
You want to
that's
believe.
easier for people to grasp.
You can't really throw a goose in the backyard and call it a snallygaster. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, that's
Watch me.
that's a very common expression, but
I've never heard that expression before.
no,
Most of the time.
yeah, no, but I guess so. To me, really both.
Yeah.
Meaning like all of the possible accounts and the kind of vampirism, goat sucking. Yes, absolutely. Whatever chupacabra, that is included. Appearance wise, I like the idea of the spine spike lizard thing, but I'm like, there have been a lot of reports that are closer to the mangy dog thing. So I guess
yeah.
yeah.
Like the dash cam with the cop that had the dash cam.
Yeah.
But it's a mangy dog. Of course it's gonna it's a dog with no hair.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It looks like a dog with no hair because it is a dog with no hair.
It's kind of like the Montauk monster too, which is a really good one, and I keep pitching that, but it's as an episode idea because that's a cryptid we haven't done that I love, like because that's the same thing where it's that's just like a mangy, probably like very diseased dog, but also it's a seal and kind of a robot, but that's chupacabra. Chupacabra's everything. It's both.
I think the original chupacabra story and creature is pretty legit, but I feel like everybody's taken it and
I think you're right. Yeah.
it's like Loch Ness. So you have Loch Ness, but then you have Champ. You've got all these things, and it's a it's a struggle. Struggle's real, guys. Struggle's real.
I think I guess my thing in general for any cryptid is if there's, in the case of Chup, it's all right. That's a clear distinction that can be made, and it's if some people believe in one, some people believe in another, they're all right because let's all believe in cryptids. It's a better world.
Yeah, I guess.
Like,
but how the hell is a canine gonna suck blood out of anything? It doesn't have anything to do it with.
It looks like that, but then it's also got like a different kind of fangs, like hollow fangs. Yeah.
Yeah, never heard that. I think you're just hold on. What was that? I think that was your ass talking again. No.
Oh no, absolutely. But also,
too.
we're talking about cryptids,
That's
so
true.
everything we're saying is.
Now, I think there's some out there which do make sense. Some of them I think are out there. Some of them I just like to poke at them just to be like, why not? But
Yeah.
mangy Chup is one I cannot get behind.
I love it. What do you think? What would you say? A question for you. What do you think the most? What cryptid is the most likely to be like actually discovered and proven?
Actually discovered. That's a toughie. Because I don't necessarily want to go. I feel like we were going to catch a Bigfoot. We're going to catch a Bigfoot by now.
I feel that way, but also there's so much attention devoted that probably has the greatest chance of being like scientifically discovered. Maybe,
true.
but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the most likely to be an actual creature. I guess those are two different questions.
The Kraken.
Yeah. I
don't
think
know if
that's
we'll ever
it.
catch it, but I think that it's legit.
It's said all the time, and I don't know the percentage, but there's so much deep pressure undersea that we just don't.
I would have
still
said
haven't-
megalodon, but I don't think that's a cryptid because didn't we already establish that it actually existed?
I think
yeah,
so,
yeah. It's just it's
What if it still exists?
prehistoric? Or,
What if it
yeah.
still existed?
Yeah,
Would that
I
be
think it
something you
does.
could?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
And
Just
they're
do
like,
something like that.
they're like, oh, how have we not seen? I'm like, okay, let's think about this.
There's a lot of things we haven't seen recently.
Just every day there's like a new underwater creature discovered.
Go get a bowl. Go get a bowl, and
All
I want you to fill that bowl with water.
Right now?
No, in your head. In your head,
Oh,
fill that
yeah,
bowl with
yeah,
water.
Oh, okay. Oh,
And
All
I
right,
want you to go
and done.
take a grain of sugar
Mhm.
and drop it in that bowl of water and tell me if you can see it.
Right. That's a good one. I like that.
Because in theory, even a piece of sand,
Yeah.
anything. Because although I know that it's big, everybody's like, oh, we've been all these places, but think about it. With a 60-foot shark, we would have seen it. I'm like, but if you consider
No.
the 60 feet and the size of the entirety of the ocean, that we don't even know how deep it
Yeah.
really is,
Yeah, exactly.
then what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like-
think that's if there's going to be a cryptid, it's going to be a water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
if we
for
discover
sure,
some- yeah.
The Meg is one of, as far as thinking about plausibility and it being
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, that actually makes sense as far as plausibility. The Meg
Yeah.
is actually pretty legit.
Yeah. That and like you said, Kraken. I think
Yeah.
that's a good. Yeah.
Well, we've seen a couple that have said we thought this was extinct until now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
that has happened. Yeah.
That
I
happened.
actually wanted to do a whole episode on animals that we thought were extinct.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right. Invite
That's
us
a
back.
good one.
I
Or
did-
don't. Whatever.
I did do one episode where I picked conspiracies that were proven true. So I went and we did the quick touch on what the conspiracy theorists thought and
Yeah,
then what it ended up
compared it-
being and how
Yeah.
messed up. And some of them were worse. Real life was worse than the
Oh, yeah,
conspiracy.
yeah. We did a Philadelphia experiment one, and that was
Oh,
pretty good.
Philadelphia experiment is insane. I got to do that at
Yeah.
some point. And
Yeah.
now, if you want something messed up,
I don't.
like real messed up,
Yeah.
Project Sunshine.
Yeah. Sunshine. Yes. Yep.
That was
That's
twisted.
yeah.
And that's one that I like because not it sucks, but it's one that a
It's-
lot of people don't know about. And
Yeah.
that's why I haven't done MK Ultra or JFK
Right.
or whatever, because I'm like,
Right.
everybody's hashed it out so much. Like there's no new
Yeah.
evidence. So what do I have to offer?
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody else have the theory I have about Goat Man.
Okay.
Goat man.
Okay,
Man.
Goat Man. Do you know Goat Man?
No, I don't. Go on. But go
Oh.
on. I'll pretend like I do.
Okay. So in theory, one background is it was basically a scientific experiment. The scientist was working on a goat, like the fly or whatever,
Yeah.
only
Yeah,
with a
yeah.
goat. But some people think that ironically around the same place as these goat men are seen, that there's portals.
Okay.
Now listen here.
Okay. No, no. You
Yeah.
got me.
If the theory of a portal is when you go through the portal, all of your molecules disassemble and then reassemble on the other side of the portal. What if some just poor farmer is out
Yeah.
walking his goat and they just so happen to accidentally go through a portal?
And
Which
then they're
you hear about-
recombined.
Yeah, and then they just reconfigure fucked
Yeah.
up. And
Yeah.
that's why you have different variations of the goat man. You have some where it's top half goat,
Yeah.
bottom half man, and all these different things
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
go through the portal.
Yep.
Mm.
See, I like that thought in general because there's so many cryptids they're chimeras in some way, shape, or
Yep.
form, and that kind of works in a sense for anything because there's a lot of stuff like there's natural teleportation portals it like, and again to get back to Birdhouse back into the Fey world, like there's the veil and that that kind of thing. But then if you look at any type of teleportation, like you said, if you think that the mechanism is like disassembly and reassembly, if you go through that with any other creature, that explains chimerism. And yeah.
And sometimes too, you hear stories about people that say they're walking through the woods and they've been walking, they've lived there for 20 years and they're walking and then all of a sudden everything looks weird. Like they don't realize they walked through something, but they're looking around, wait a minute, there's a
Wasn't I
house
just- yeah.
here. This house wasn't here. So then they go and they walk out, everything's normal. They grab somebody, they come back and the house is gone. They're like, it was right here.
Yeah.
Or they
Yep.
walk and all of a sudden everything looks weird for a little bit. And then it's like they walk out the other side and they're like,
Yeah.
and then when they go back, it's stuff like that. I think is pretty crazy.
Same. Yeah. That's good stuff.
All right, one more
What?
question before we head out.
Yes.
Do either of you have any spooky encounters?
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't. But also here's your argument is I don't believe in
Yeah.
the paranormal.
He
so I
probably has
don't
seen
have
things
those.
that people would see as
But But we argued about this and said usually the theory being that if you're
I also didn't agree with
sensitive to
that.
that, or if you're looking for it, or but I have never seen it, so therefore I don't believe it. And maybe it's just I'm not looking for it, but also I just don't believe in.
I didn't believe it until I sat down and was 2 feet from something staring at me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Then I was like, shit.
Well,
I was like 15.
when that happens, I might change my mind, but it has not.
All right,
happened.
spookies,
Yeah.
go mess with JJ. I watched
Go
it though,
for it.
because last time I sicked them on somebody, it actually happened. Just let
I-
me know if anything
bring-
weird happens.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Come on.
Literally, I told him to pester my husband, and the next day he went to check the mail, and the treadmill turned itself on while he was going out to check the mail, and it
Really?
wouldn't turn off. The switches were all off. He pulled the safety switch, and it just kept running. He called me panicking.
Nope. I'm not. Nope. Not gonna happen. So.
All
don't believe
right.
in it. Don't
All
believe in
right.
it.
What about you, Ted?
I think I haven't had anything, unfortunately, that I would describe that is in any way like supernatural, which is a real bummer. But I have just the first thing that popped into my mind. And this just came up the other day. I don't even know if I would have remembered it, but there was when I was maybe in 6th grade, and in the town that I lived in, and so I was going to middle school, and I would walk back home afterwards,
Mhm.
and this is just like a wild thing, but there was, I'll just say quickly, basically there was a girl that was kidnapped and murdered, and as I walked home
Oh, I
from
don't
school,
care. No worry to
I-
be.
yeah, as
I feel that way. Don't speak for me.
but as I was walking home, I'd seen her playing, and I said hi on the day that she was like abducted and then murdered that night. Like we had talked to each other. It was probably like I was 6th grade, and I was like one of the last people probably to see her. And then it was like, like our state, it was like a huge news thing in our state. And I was
Wow.
like, yeah, that's just, and like I said, I don't even know honestly if I would have remembered that if it hadn't come up for a different reason like a month ago. That sounds callous, but it was just it was such a regular thing. I just said hello to somebody, and then like I said, I figured out later. I was like, holy shit! I remember saying hello, and it was like 2 days later. I was like, I remember that because I remember walking back from school that Wednesday or whatever, and then like Friday, I heard about this happening, and I was like, oh my god! Maybe she was abducted from her front yard at 5 p.m. and it was like 4 p.m. when I walked by and said hello.
Whoa.
Like,
But it wasn't like she was already dead and you said hello to her.
no. Like I said, not supernatural, just like
Oh.
spooky. Like, yeah. Unfortunately, no.
Just a bad timing.
Yeah.
So-
Just coincidental, but
But
strong intuition. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just weird. And just
Yeah.
even at work, like sometimes I see things and I'm like, am I crazy? But
Maybe.
Yeah.
for JJ up here, by the way, JJ, this one's for you because
I'm trying to be supportive of you.
There was
You're doing a good job.
I had a witness. And that never happened.
Nah.
So I was at work and I'm at my desk and I've got my little computer I'm typing. It's the middle of the freaking day.
Mhm.
All right. Literally middle of the day. And I'm working and all of a sudden I hear, so I work in an old building, like a really old building.
Mhm.
And I hear the doorknob turn
Mhm.
to the door that's like in front of me and cracks and all of its windows. I work at a fishbowl because I sell cars. So we're like in that
Sure.
big open.
Oh,
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I hear it and I look up expecting someone to be coming in because I hear and then I watch the door just real slowly open. And we have a bell that turns off if you open the door.
Mhm.
And so it was like the doorknob and then it was like click. And then I look up and the door opens, the doorbell goes off. My boss stood up thinking there was somebody because he heard the door and he heard
Sure.
the bell. And so he stood up, gonna come say something. And I'm just staring at the door and he's looking at me and I'm like, you see that, right? And
Yeah.
he watched the whole thing.
And
I
he's
went
like,
ho-
stop bringing your shit here.
Yeah.
I went home that night and my mom sent me a message like right after I got home. And I found out that around the same time that door opened, my grandpa had a stroke.
Oh my god.
So she was like, oh, he had a stroke. And I'm like, okay, but he's fine.
Good,
He's good now.
Good.
He's good. And I was like, just out of curiosity, around what time was his stroke? And it was literally exactly the same time that it was happening.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
We have an antique car in our showroom.
Mhm.
And my grandpa is a race car driver and he loves like old cars. And it was like, we have 2 doors and the other one, you just push it open. It's super easy. You just push it open.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But this one, it was the door by the car, like old knob. And it really slowly opened. Like they were just checking out the car, and I was like, oh, hello.
Oh man.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then the next day I came in and I had a guy next to me and I was just working and he's, hey, is somebody in the shop? Because the shop's right behind me where I sit. And I'm like, no, nobody's in there. He's, are you sure? I'm like, no one has walked by today. It is just me and you in this building right now.
mhm.
He's, I swore I heard footsteps. Someone's walking in there. And I'm like, there's no one there. Just trust me. The doors are locked. No one's in there. So
Right.
he goes and, of course, doesn't believe me, goes over. The door is, in fact, locked.
Mhm.
And he opens it and no one is in there. And
Yeah.
so we've had the doors opening. We've had other things moving.
Man.
Yeah. And yeah.
Oh,
So that's just
man.
at work.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just at work.
Yeah.
Just at work. And nothing ever happened before you were there. And if you ever determined to leave, nothing will happen
Well,
after.
we're all new. I
Okay.
don't know if anything happened there or
That's
not
fair.
because
Yeah.
we've all
That's
been
fair.
there about the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know
When
if
she
it's
brought it
something that
with.
was already there or something that
I think you brought it with.
it's very possible. I've had some that save my ass where they're like, say my name and I wake up and then my boss comes around the corner.
I don't know. Yeah. That's, see, like,
helping
and that's
out.
the thing where there's somewhere it's obviously coincidence or inherent intuition, but when there's so many and there's so many experiences, doesn't
Yeah.
it follow? Isn't it Occam's razor at this point is no, it's something else? Like when it happens so many times. Yeah.
To me, it's so many different things. Even
Yeah, yeah.
I live in town. I am literally in town.
Mhm.
And I was driving down the back road to go to work one morning and I'm just cruising. And then all of a sudden it was like, I literally heard somebody say, slow down. And I was like, what? And I heard somebody say, slow down. I'm like, why? And it was like deer. And I'm like, I'm in town.
Mhm.
But I was like, okay.
Sure,
So
yeah.
I slowed down and I shit you not, a freaking deer ran out in front of me.
Oh,
Yeah.
DEER, not
Oh.
deer. Oh, slow
No.
down, deer.
Oh dear.
No,
Oh,
no.
dear.
It's literally, oh shit, there's a deer.
Huh.
And
Well-
that's the only time that's happened to me.
That's
Hmm.
yeah. Again,
It's
just
just-
yeah, the more and more of those. Like I said, I get any radical skeptic hearing that it's that's a lot of coincidence and really strong intuition, and but like, how many does it take before it's maybe there's a more
Yeah.
reasonable explanation?
And it happens all the time. So I'm always like, oh yeah, like this happened. And people are like, that would freak me out. I'm like, what
Yeah.
happens to me all the time?
Yeah,
Right.
The weirdest one is whenever I went to sleep and had a dream, I watched a woman die. I didn't know who she was. I didn't recognize her. I've never seen her before. And I shit you not, the next morning I was watching the news and her face popped up that she had been murdered in the same way I saw in my dream.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah,
An
that's
hour from me.
yeah.
I have no idea who this woman is.
And then I woke up the next morning and murdered somebody in
Yeah,
the
and then I-
same way. It was
She-
weird.
Yeah, she was. It was really bizarre.
Oh man,
But anyway,
That was wild.
yeah,
I appreciate you guys being on.
yeah.
No, thank you.
Oh, man.
Thank you.
And that's just the easy stuff. I didn't even touch. I didn't even scratch the surface on this stuff.
But you can come on our show and you can tell us anything.
Hey, hook it up, man. I'll
Yeah.
make it happen.
We'll do
I've
it.
got a
We'll
whole
do it.
bunch of crazy stories.
Perfect.
Um,
Excellent.
Assuming JJ goes out and fills out that form because I don't see him on my list.
I'll do it.
You guys can check the description because all of their links are going to be down there. All my research resources are going to be down there as well.
Are we still
So
live? Oh, shit.
yes, we are. So go
Oh.
go down, check them out, subscribe, listen, show them some love.
you.
You guys are awesome. I've loved
Oh,
watching
thank
you in
you.
all these lives, and
thank
it's
you.
just like I
Yeah,
said, you
this
guys
is
are
so
like peanut
time.
butter and jelly. You guys get along great. It's like having two sides of a coin.
Yeah,
I've
that's what we
noticed-
hope to present. Yeah,
Be cool.
JJ seems a
Yeah.
little bit more skeptical.
correct.
Reasonable.
That
Skeptical,
I also correct different
closed-minded.
reason. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Yep.
There's a lot of different ways to describe it.
Yeah,
It's
like I
going
tell
on.
everybody, I'm an optimistic skeptic. There's a lot of things I don't believe, but there's a lot of stuff that I cannot,
Yeah,
in good conscience, say I don't believe something because the crap
Right.
that I have seen is so outlandish.
Well-
It's just ridiculous.
and for me, that's a good segue. For me, it's I don't have the confidence in my own observation and understanding to completely rule things out the way that other people seem to sometimes. And I don't know. I guess to me, is it really that hard to believe some of this? And even if it's not the most, even if the way that I feel about it isn't the most reasonable thing, it's constantly throughout history, something that's not the most reasonable explanation is what we accept to be the case. I just don't have that confidence.
Yes. And if you
I
can't
don't-
prove to me, you might say, no, that's not it. But if you cannot prove to me why it's not it, then you can't
Yeah.
prove to me why it Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
JJ, I got to
Yes,
show
ma'am.
you. I'm not going to be able to. I've got to get in a room with you, physically in a room with you, because I can explain.
Arm wrestle.
You're going down. Oh my gosh. I literally just watched an episode of Cold Case that had wrestling in it, but
Natural. Excellent.
he was the machine. But anyway, just because, so there's something that you can't describe it. But I can show people. And usually whenever I can show people what it is, it makes things a little easier. So if you guys ever go out to any events, let me know. And I'll see if I go to the same ones, because I got to show you.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't
We'll
worry.
set it up. We'll
No.
set it up,
Yeah.
damn it.
JJ will not be violated in the process. I promise.
Just
Let
being
us-
arm wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's, no.
Damn, nice. Yeah. All right.
All right. But that being
Awesome.
said, again, like I said, thank you guys so much for being on.
Thank you.
Check
Yeah.
out all the links and everything.
Yeah.
And I guess until next time, I'll see you.
Signing out.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cryptids, Creeps, and Conspiracy. If you wouldn't mind, please take a moment and give the show a 5-star review wherever you're listening. I know it might not seem like much, but it greatly helps the show and allows people to find us more easily. Also, head on over to www.patreon.com/cryptids, creeps, and conspiracy and subscribe to any of the tiers. Members of the Big Show tier get bonus materials, personalized shoutouts on the pod, ad-free episodes, access to the private Discord server, quarterly appreciation gifts, and a chance to be on the show. Not to mention video versions of the episode. There's also a Snallygaster tier, and those ones enjoy a shout out on the pod, some bonus content, and ad-free episodes as well. Before you go, don't forget to click the link in the description and grab yourself or someone you know some self-designed merch by me, or make a donation to help keep the show going and fund future events and investigations. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Threads, and TikTok. If you have any questions, topic recommendations, or personal encounters, please send them to cryptidscreepsandconspiracy@gmail.com or submit them through the contact form at www.cryptidscreepsandconspiracy.com. I would love to hear from you and share your experiences on a listener episode. Just make sure that you specify that I have permission to add your encounter to the show, and let me know whether or not you would like your real name read or an alias to maintain confidentiality. Thank you guys all again so much for your support. Until next time, my friends. See ya.